Hello, everybody. Welcome to our live event, the afternoon session. Now, we had three awesome sessions lined up. Two of them were going to be run by me. Another one was going to be run by the CEO of SendPad. Okay. Unfortunately, at the very last minute today, and I don't know if Aiden covered it this morning, but the CEO of SendPad, Josh, his dog got really sick this morning, and he had to rush him off to the vet, and that presentation had to be canceled. So we're only gonna have two this afternoon. Don't worry though, Josh has committed to making up that presentation in the very, very near future. So unfortunately, we only have two things to talk about this afternoon, but you guys can get your day back anyways, and we can do that final presentation another day. So what we're gonna talk about today is we're gonna dive into some hot seats, all right? And then we are going to, actually first, we're going to talk about credit card hacks, all right? That's the presentation that I think you guys will love. And then I have three hot seats lined up. We'll stay as long as needed. I'll answer some questions, and we'll try to keep this to right around 2 hours or so and get everybody out of here by 4 p.m. Eastern, all right? Just before I get started again, I know I asked this but before I press the record button, but my sound has been a little bit messy lately. You guys could type a lucky number 7 in the chat. If everything looks good, you can see my screen, you can see me, I sound okay. 7777. Somebody says I was roboting. I don't hear anybody else telling me my sound is bad. So unfortunately, you know, technology. Oftentimes, if I sound bad, it's likely on your end of things. But thank you. I got a 777. Okay, we're ready to go. So this is probably my favorite topic to ever talk about. In fact, Aiden this morning asked me if I could come on a podcast and talk about it. I was like, hell yeah. My girlfriend probably hates me every time this subject comes up because I'm just like, I go off on this like tangent. And it's all about credit card hacks that the banks don't want you to know about. Now, this is going to depend on where you're at in your business, but everybody uses credit cards, all right? Whether you're using them for your groceries, or your gas, or your Microsoft ads, Google ads, whatever you're using your credit cards for, credit cards are prevalent in North American society, all right? I think actually in Canada and America, consumer debt ratio is like 2 to 1. Not only are credit cards used, they're used probably way too irresponsibly. So anyways, I don't advocate for using your credit cards irresponsibly, but if you're gonna use credit cards, you might as well use them to the best of your ability and take advantage of what I like to call point hacking, okay? Now, I'm not the originator of this. I didn't create point hacking, but through you know, a presentation I saw about 5 years ago and you know, websites and my own research across the years, I've become quite an expert at it. I was able to travel to 5 out of the 7 continents last year, 100% free, first class, all right, except for taxes. I had to pay taxes, you can't avoid the tax man, but my fare, 100% free on every single flight that I flew across the world. I have a bunch coming up. I essentially don't pay for flights anymore, except my flights back to Toronto, Miami, because we'll get into why that would be a waste of points. And it's like $150 US flight from Miami to Toronto. You don't want to waste points on something so small, but I do not pay for any international flight travel. And we're going to talk about that this afternoon. So a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Toronto, where I still live. For now, I put for now, but you know, I am in the process. I have a condo in Miami in the process of getting the proper visa certifications and stuff like that, so my business can officially relocate down to Miami, where I will plan to go back and forth between Toronto and the Magic City, so they call it. I actually have a master's degree in political science, which surprises a lot of people. Although I would consider myself to like the topic of politics and economics, I do consider myself to be a pretty apathetic person when it comes to politics. I think they all suck. I don't care whether you're left or right. You guys are arguing because you're a Democrat or a Republican, you're fighting, you don't want to talk to your friends, and you're missing the point. Nobody cares. These people at the top, doesn't matter whether they're left or right, they don't give a shit about you. Just throw that, that's my thoughts on politics, but that's neither here nor there. That's topic for a couple beers at a bar, all right? But long story short, I do have a master's degree in politics. I never worked 1 second for the government. I had multiple interviews. They never wanted to hire me. So I was like, all right, well, forget them then. I don't want to be hired by those jerks anyways. And I stuck with a career in telecom at a company called Rogers in Canada, the largest telecom in the country. I don't know if Rogers or Bell are, one of the two anyways. And I had a good career there, you know. So, hey, I had a $80,000-$90,000 a year job. I had a management position, and the government didn't want to give me an interview. Well, screw them. I'll just work at Rogers, get a pension, and get half off my phone services and all that stuff. So that was my path. I consider myself to be the world's best amateur bartender, even though I technically don't really drink anymore. I still whip you up an awesome old fashioned or a Negroni or a mojito. You name the drink, I'm going to make it. You're going to love it. Lover of all things sports. Very passionate about football, baseball, golf, basketball. Hockey, surprisingly, like lower on the list. I know I'm Canadian, but just because I'm Canadian doesn't mean I absolutely love the sport. Maybe it's because I grew up in Toronto and the Leafs are like just a disaster of a franchise for the last 50, 60 years. But, it's not like I hate hockey. It's just lower on the totem pole. Starting to take up tennis. I have tennis courts right by the condo here in Miami. You get up every morning, good cardio there. So rollerblading around the city. Although I don't know if I want to show. I had a nasty spill yesterday. Downtown Miami, the beach, gorgeous rollerblade, right? Anybody's ever been to Miami Beach, the boardwalk, it's gorgeous, nice and smooth in the most spots and whatever. Where I live in Miami, Midtown, it's kind of like, I don't want to call it up and coming. That makes it sound like it's a bad neighborhood, but there's just a lot of construction, right? It's growing rapidly. And so I was rollerblading down to Brickell through the downtown area yesterday. What a disaster, man. They're building this bridge, they're building these condos, there's concrete everywhere. I got all the way down to Whole Foods, bought some groceries, and I got all the way back up to Midtown. It's like half hour, 35 to 40 minutes actually to Whole Foods and 35 to 40 minutes rollerblade back. And right out front of my condo, I hit a rock, stumbled a little bit, lost my balance, fell, and my knee it scraped it literally at least like 2 feet across the ground. And I have like the nastiest cut on my knee of all time. But I love being down here in Miami because it's like being a kid again. It's always warm, especially in the winter. It's not too hot in like February, March. It'll be like 80 degrees. It's not like 100 and humid like it is here in the summertime. But you get to be a kid again. You want to play tennis or golf, or you want to rollerblade down the boardwalk, biking, whatever you want to do, you can do. Love it. Good way to stay in shape. I have 2 kids. Daughter's 8, she'll be 9, actually less than a month from now. I can't believe where the time has gone. My son is 5. There's a picture of us to the right here at Disney with my girlfriend there. That actually, can I zoom in here? Let me see if I can zoom in. My son might hate me. Oh, there we go. He doesn't know I'm doing this, but look at this guy. Look at this guy. What's wrong with him? It's at Disney. Every single picture with the family, he just would not smile. That's the best we could do. We had like 9 takes of this photo, and he was so mad about taking pictures. But that's my kids. This was actually just a couple of weeks ago. They came down for the spring break, pick them up to Disney. Now, I quit my job actually at the age of 29, and it's a bit of a story. I won't get totally into it. We'll get into credit card hats in a second, guys, but I just want to talk about this. I used to work at Rogers. And my wife at the time, was going to go on maternity leave. Canada actually has a really good maternity leave program. You get something like, you get up to a certain amount of your salary for 52 weeks. I actually think it's 18 months now, but back in the day, it was 12. You literally get like half your salary. They max it out. If you're making 500 grand a year, they're not going to give you 250K. So I think you get half of your salary for 18 months. Up to a certain maximum, but I still think it is like $4 grand a month. I think so. I could be wrong, but it's decent. But she was going to lose half her salary, and I'm like, I'm making 80 grand a year. She was making 40. Now she'll only make 20, and 100 grand a year is still good. But like tax in Canada is a disaster. Student loan, they had a house. What am I going to do, man? Like every single dollar coming in just goes out. I had a newborn, so I was like, I'm going to just like probably do what you guys do. Now it's like, how do I make extra money online? How to make money online? Stumble across something. Joined an MLM, failed at it, joined another MLM, succeeded at it, became like the number 6 recruiter, learned how to do e-commerce in that MLM, got really good at it. And after about 10 months, I earned enough income. So she never had to go back to work after my daughter was born. And I never had to go back to work again either. We both retired, we'll stop doing the 9 to 5. And here I am about almost 10 years later this November. All right. And I currently have ownership in 5 different companies that generate multiple 8 figures. I have e-commerce businesses, CPA businesses, obviously, and ownership in 3 different SaaS companies. All right. And one of the perks of being an entrepreneur, especially, I've been divorced since and love my children, miss them all the time. But if you want to take the positive with the bad, one of the perks being an entrepreneur, half the time, 180 plus days a year, I got time to travel the world, right? I really just do. Yes, I have a business to run for sure. But in my business, all I need is, I'm about to lift my laptop. You can't see it. I need a laptop, some internet, maybe like a little microphone or something that I can travel along with. And that's it. If I have those things, my business can go. I can talk to people. These phones nowadays, any country in the world, basically, you can call. I remember in Egypt, which is by far the most poor country I've ever been to. Even their internet was fine. I was like doing a little bit of work out of Egypt. Like I was on a webinar, like anywhere in the world, I have a laptop, I have internet, I can go. So 2020, obviously, what happened in 2020? I wonder. COVID, in Canada, I like to say, especially Ontario, Canada, next to maybe Australia and New Zealand, was pretty restrictive. One of the most restrictive, if not the most restrictive, next to Australia and New Zealand in the world. Got divorced, I got separated literally 4 months into COVID and lived with my ex for 8 months. I'm getting a little personal. I don't care, guys. I'm vulnerable and personal. I don't care. This is who I am. I had to live with her for 8 months in a lockdown, like in the house. Like, luckily, we're still very friendly and we get along. Actually, my ex and I took the kids to Disney recently together with our girlfriend and boyfriends. Awkward, weird, it seems, but it actually turned out okay. We have a decent relationship, right? And it's all for the kids. So, but we lived in the house for like 8 months as a separated, married couple, whatever you want to call it. And then it was like we moved out, and finally, like 2021, like 15 months after I separated from my ex, oh my God, I can travel. Like, whoa, so now here I am. I have all these credit card points, which we're going to talk about in a second, because I couldn't use them for like a year and a half because of COVID and restrictions and lockdowns, and you can't travel, and you got to get the vaccine. If you don't get the vaccine, you're never going to. So it's like a whole, you guys know the spiel, right? And so finally, by June 2021, it was like, oh my God, I can travel. And 2022 specifically, like I tell this story and people are like, how did you do all that, right? So we're going to talk about that in a second. But one of the perks is travel, and specifically being, a part-time, I hate saying it like that, but it is what it is, a half-time father. I have 180 days a year that I can travel, right? And I had over 1 million points, which actually is nothing compared to how I'm point hacking now. But I had over 1 million points on one of my visas due to COVID, because I was using this visa, which, by the way, was a horrible card to use, and we'll talk about that in this presentation. But I was using this visa for my ads and just generating points. I couldn't use them. I never used them. I used to use them just to pay off my credit card bill. Like, 100,000 points gives me $1,000. Great. Put $1,000 on the credit card bill. Put $1,000 on the credit card bill. Put $1,000. You know what I mean? And I would just use it like that. But I'll tell you why as we go in the presentation, why that's not the best strategy. But I had all these points, and that's when I realized I was using all these points wrong. It was actually on the very first trip that I went to I won't call it post-COVID, amidst COVID, but like allowed to leave the country because, I got the vaccine, I could come to America, whatever. And one of the first presentations that I saw was on credit card points. And I was like, oh, what am I doing? I'm totally wasting my points. And it was a mind-blowing experience. And when the rules loosened after that presentation, I wouldn't say the rules loosened, when they, I guess they loosened enough, they were still, I remember being in Florida, just funny story. Florida and Ontario, Canada, very similar. Florida has about 20 million people, Ontario about 15, similar sized populations, right? And I remember being in a nightclub. I don't know what I'm doing in a nightclub, whatever. We're in a nightclub. I hadn't seen people, some of my friends, in like 19, 20 months, just off a divorce, obviously. I'm in the nightclub. You can obviously imagine, I'm in the time of my life. Like, I'm out of lockdown. I'm with all my friends, and I'm at the nightclub, like shoulder to shoulder with people, dancing, because Florida, COVID never happened, right? There's no COVID in Florida. It just doesn't exist here, which is an eye roll and a different conversation. But I'm having the time of my life. And then the next day, I fly back to Ontario, and I'm sitting in a lockdown, and I have to quarantine in my house for 2 weeks because I just visited America. And I'm like, two similar sized places in the Western world with two completely different rules of it was just a disaster. But I was like very thankful that I could travel. And like in that year, there was in St. Pete there. That's Josh there, by the way. It was the first time I seen him in like 2 years. Really good friend of mine. We have businesses together, and he is the CEO of SendPad. He'll be giving you guys a presentation in the near future. I was able to go to Green Bay, where I actually got COVID. Maybe it was ironic that I got COVID, where I think they say, this is a CDC stat, which I don't know if you can trust that, but it's a stat out there. It's really hard to get COVID from outdoor exposure anyways. And I always would tell people that, oh, outdoors, why are they canceling golf? You can't even get COVID outdoors. And then I went to Green Bay and I got COVID. So I guess you can get COVID outdoors, even though it's extremely rare, but nonetheless, it was worth it. I had a little cup of cough and I was ready to go, but that was a cool experience. Vegas, which I go to all the time, but met a buddy of mine had a table. Of course, Vegas has a nightclub in their stadium at the Wynn or XS Wynn, whatever it is, nightclub that's in the stadium. That's fun. Newport Beach, Jamaica, Miami. Before I relocated down here, Arizona. That's me and my girlfriend climbing a mountain. Aiden, I was finally able to see Aiden. You know, funny story. Aiden and I met back in 2019 virtually in the summer. So it's been 4 years now that we've known each other. I didn't meet Aiden in person until 2021 in the fall. It was like 2.5 years later. I was able to go see him in November, actually, like 4 or 5 months ago. We went down to Argentina. That's us at the Faena there in Buenos Aires. And I hung out with him for 3 days. It was like probably those 3 days were more time than I spent with him in the previous 3 years. So that was quite a fun experience. Buenos Aires, I'm going actually back there at the end of May on a little business retreat with him and Steve and one of our other partners as well. I was able to go to Dubai. There's me in front of the pyramids in Egypt. There's me in the Amalfi Coast in Italy. There's me standing in front of the Moet and Chandon distillery, I guess, in Champagne, France. I went to Paris and all that stuff. I paid exactly $0 for these flights, all right? I went to Italy, France, Dubai, Egypt, Argentina, all these American cities, Jamaica, never paid a cent outside of the taxes. You can't avoid the taxes. Taxes don't get included in the points. But taxes, oftentimes, the most tax I paid was on the Dubai flight. I think it was like $600, but it was a $14,000 flight. So I'll gladly take the $600 tax. But usually they're around like $60, $100. It's very reasonable the amount of tax you pay on these things. Okay. How? All right. Some of you might be asking, well, how? Hacking my credit cards. Okay. And my travel philosophy, 1 second here, is I never want to pay for flights. All right. I will always pay for a flight that's like Toronto to Miami for $150. And I'll explain why as we go on in this presentation. But I don't want to pay for long haul flights. I do not want to pay for a first class flight from Toronto to LA. That's 5.5 hours. I don't want to pay for my flight from Toronto to Lisbon, Portugal, which I'm going this year. I'm definitely not paying to go to Argentina. And I'm sure as hell not paying when I go to Japan in September. Okay. And all of these flights will be first class, $0. And I remember having this conversation with Aiden in Vegas a few weeks ago, actually, when we met up. And he was just talking about, oh, I'm going to New Zealand, I'm doing this. And I was telling him, what are you doing, bro? Like, you're paying all that money for these trips. You got to hack your credit cards. Like, you and Steve, you have ads over here. Like, get this card, get that card. You go apply, Steve. And so I'm explaining to these guys in the middle of Vegas. I'm giving them basically this presentation of like, you got to hack your card. You shouldn't be spending money on first class flights. Never take cash back, okay? Cashback is a one-to-one value. So if you have 100,000 points on your credit card, which is great, they'll give you $1,000, which, to be fair, $1,000 is $1,000. I get it. It's nothing to sneeze at. And some of you are like, I hate traveling. I don't have the money to travel. I'm not traveling. I could really use $1,000. All right, take the $1,000 if you want. I'm not stopping you. But the value of the points, using it towards a first-class flight, is so much more valuable because 100,000 points can get you a $6,000 value first-class flight from Toronto to Spain, all right? And I'd rather take $6,000 than $1,000 any day of the week. Oftentimes, too, many countries will charge that as income. In Canada, for example, if I take $1,000, they will tax me on that as taxable income to the business, which is taxed at your marginal rate, which mine in Canada, one of the reasons I got the hell out of there from a tax perspective, is 50%. Okay. So that $1,000 turns into $500 real quick. All right. Not sure how it is in America, not sure how it is in other countries. I've had Americans tell me it's not a taxable thing, and that's great. So $1,000 is $1,000, but in Canada, that's not the case. Don't waste points on hotels and gifts too. Some of the worst things you can spend your money on is like a Home Depot gift card or something. Horrible. The best value you're going to get is first class international flights, and we'll talk about this throughout this presentation. Get the best cards possible to maximize your points. I will talk about the 3 cards you should get, and I made a huge mistake with this until 2021 because I didn't even understand how the points worked, which I think most people don't. It's exactly how the credit cards want you to think. And I was like, well, whatever. I got this Visa. It's a US dollar Visa. It's fine. No big deal. And I'm like, God, the millions of points that I could have used over the years had I have known this. Okay. By the way, just a quick pause. I do understand that many of you on this call might be at a situation where like, Sean, I'm only spending like $20 a day on ads. There's no way I can get that many points. Totally get that. But why not set yourself up in the future? Or why not get them now so that when you do start running, you can do it in the future? Others of you might like, oh, well, I can't get this card. I don't have the right credit or blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's fine too. Do it in the future. All right. So don't get discouraged if this presentation you might not be ready to like take full advantage of it. Just keep it in the back of your head because when the time comes, this is going to be very, very helpful for you. Use credit cards, not debit cards, to pay for everything if you can be responsible. Okay. So I would not use my credit card if I knew that I didn't understand finance, and I was stupid. We were all like this, probably, maybe not all, but many of us were like this in our 20s. It was like, oh my God, a Visa just gave me $2,000. I'm going to the bar, you go to the bar and you're like, you're poor. You're making like $10 an hour or whatever. I was making $8 an hour actually as a restaurant manager at a restaurant when I was 19. Which is the drinking age in Canada. I don't know why your drinking age in America is 21, by the way. I mean, they send you to war at 18, but you can't even have a beer till you're 21. Doesn't make sense to me, but that's neither here nor there. You spend it irresponsibly. And then like you're 20, you're like, God damn, what's all this monthly interest? Like, oh yeah, that $2,000. I just wasted on booze at the bar and maxed out my credit card. I did lots of dumb stuff like that. So I'm not advocating for that. But if you are paying your phone bill, if you're paying your car payment, if you're paying your gas, if you're paying maybe even your mortgage or your rent, if that's a possibility, your food, your clothing, anything, any business expense, charge your credit card. If you're going to pay it off with your debit card anyways, why not get the points on your credit card? The debit card gives you nothing. The credit card gives you points. All right. So as much as you can in a responsible fashion, always use your credit card. Okay. And these are the 3 cards you need to get in order. All right. The Amex Business Gold, the Chase Ink Business Preferred, and the Amex Business Platinum. Now, I recognize Amex isn't going to be for everyone totally, but if you're running a business and you have a reasonable credit score, there's no reason why you cannot get the Chase Ink Business Preferred. And we'll talk about why these 3 cards are the single best cards out there. There's obviously other cards. My buddy's got me on this Amazon card where you get I think you get 5% cash back on all Amazon purchases, and you end up getting, I don't know. I was going to apply for it because I do a lot of Amazon stuff and it might make some sense, but generally get these 3 cards. They are going to be your best friends. Okay. I think I'm addicted to Coke Zeros, by the way. I swear to God, I don't know. Hopefully there's no studies that come out later. Drinking 3 Coke Zeros a day is going to cause cancer. That was my problem. Anyways, I'm sorry. I don't know. I can't do presentations stuffy. I'm a very informal, shoot from the hip kind of guy. I think people like that style. So sometimes I go on random thought. But anyways, back to the presentation. The business goal gives you 4 times points on the top 2 categories where your business spent the most in each cycle from the list below. And if you look at the middle here, US purchases for advertising in select media, and one of them is online advertising. So on the first $150,000 you spend every single year, and I know Not all of you are going to spend $150,000 a year. You might not be there now, but you will get there eventually. Okay. On that first 150,000 you spend on advertising, guess what? You get 600,000 points. All right. You just cannot beat that. There's no card out there that's going to give you that many points for running ads. Okay. So that is the very first card you want to get. The second card, oh, by the way, you also get a 70,000. It changes. This is at the time of this presentation, but you get 70,000 membership point reward just for joining the business goal. So if you use that 150K in your first year, you're going to get 670,000 points immediately. And then every single year it resets, you get 600,000 points in 2024, 600,000 in 2025, and so on. Okay. Once you cap out the 600,000 points, then you cycle in your Chase Business Preferred. And your Chase Business Preferred is going to give you 100,000 point welcome bonus. By the way, they have like these qualifiers. You got to do this and that, the other thing to get the 100,000 points, but you'll be able to meet them quite easily at your scale of business if you're doing this. But also they give you 3x points on the first 150,000 spent. And one of the items is advertising purchases made with social media sites and search engines. Guess what we do? Search engine advertising, Google and Bing. So once you've maxed out the 150 on the business goal, you go and you do the 150 on the Chase Inc. The Chase Inc., let's do some math here. We're already at 670,000, right? You're going to get 100,000 bonus just for joining the card, and you're going to get another 140, 150,000 once you spend another 150. So on 300,000 in ad spend, which is, what does that work out to be? $25,000 in ad spend a month, which is $800 a day, which I think you guys can see, you could easily spend $800 a day at scale. It's not a crazy amount. You would have 1.2 million points in your first year. And then every year after, you would have 1.05 million points, just if you spent 300 grand a year and did nothing else. And on those 1.1 million points, let's round up, on the 1.1 million points, the amount of first class, Europe, South America, whatever trips, depending on what day of the week, where you're flying out of, that you can get, you know, I estimate that a trip is going to average around 100 grand. That's like 10 to 12 flights every single year for free in first class, lie down seats, maybe your own pod like Emirates. We'll get to that. Okay. Awesome stuff. And then finally, after you've maxed out the 300K, you switch to the Business Platinum card. Now, a couple reasons why the Business Platinum card is good outside of the points that I'm going to talk about is, one, you get access to all the airport lounges, period. Okay. Two, it's $500 a year, but you get, or sorry, is it $600? Oh, $700 a year. Geez, they keep raising the price. But you get $200 flight credit, $200 hotel credit, and a $200 Clear membership. And if you're in America or Canada and you're traveling around America a lot, you'll know Clear is the greatest thing ever. You literally walk up to this machine, it scans your eyes and you're past security. And you get like a VIP right up to security and you're through in seconds. So it's like it pays for itself just by having that card. You get like special event notices and things like that. It's totally worth it. The other reason you have it is after you max out the business card at 150K and the Chase Business Inc. at 150K, they will only give you 1x points. The Amex gives you 1.5x times points for every 5,000 you spend on ads. So what you do is you go to Google and you call them and you say, hey, or Facebook or any of these places and say, hey, I want you to bill me every time I hit $5,000. And I go, okay, sir, no problem. Boom, you get 1.5 points. So let's say you spent another 150K on Amex Platinum. The 150K would be worth 225,000 points, right? 150K times 1.5. And so if I was to put that in there, okay. Also, what's the welcome bonus? Do I have that there? Boom, 120,000 points. 120. All right. Boom. Basically, 1.5 million points on $450,000 year ad spend. I know some of you be like, oh, I can't spend that much. This is unattainable, blah, blah, blah. It's really like $35,000 a month in ad spend, which works out to be like $1,000 a day, give or take. Okay. It's really not crazy scale. It's reasonable scale. But that's the power of having these three cards. If you just used your normal Visa, didn't get a welcome bonus, spent 450 grand, you'd get 450,000 points. And you may or may not be able to transfer those points to airline partners, which we're about to cover. And that's wonderful. But I don't know about you, I'd rather 1.5 million points than 500,000 points. You're basically getting 3x the amount of points just by leveraging these three cards together. You'll get into every lounge you want to get into. Airline fee credit, you get the Clear membership, which I flipping love. And you go from there. Clear is great because in Toronto, when I fly to Miami, we have the Nexus booth. So I just show this like Nexus is like a Canadian thing that gets us like, priority line into America. And Toronto has customs to America right in the Toronto airport. So I like use this Nexus card. I fly past everyone. The border guy doesn't ask me, where are you going? Miami. All right, see you later. Sometimes I'll be like, why? Sit on the beach. All right, see you. So you fly there. And then when I'm coming back to Toronto, I go through Clear. I just like walk up to this machine, it scans my eyes, boom. You walk up to security, you're through. So it's the greatest thing ever. I never have to worry about airports. I get there like an hour before my flight. I'm through in 5-10 minutes tops and walk right onto the airplane. It's the most pleasing thing ever. Okay. So we talked about this, how it works. Right away, you get all those points for joining. 600K on the Amex Gold on 150 spent. I'm not going to read this. We already talked about it. I think my math said 1.34 here. I got 1.4 on the calculator. Who knows? Somewhere around 1.5 million points on 450K in spend. Anything after that, 300K, you always put on the Amex Platinum. Like I said, because the Amex Platinum gives you a 1.5x point on any dollar spent on a 5,000 purchase or more. So at that point, you want to go to AdWords, Bing, Facebook, wherever, and say, hey, I don't want you to send me a bill until I hit $5,000. As long as you have some history with them, most of the time they'll say yes. All my accounts, Facebook, Bing, Google, all of them only charge me every $5,000. So instead of getting charged, when you hit $100 and they bill your credit card $100 or whatever the thresholds are, I get my threshold at $5,000. Don't do these things. Don't spend cards. Don't spend points on gift cards, hotels, cash, gas, etc. You get like horrible value. We're going to talk about why in a second. Don't buy your flights directly through Amex or Chase unless you're using the travel credit they give you every once a year. I just used it the other day. Like I said, I pay for my flights, Toronto to Miami, and you'll see why, because it is a waste of points to do that. But one time I was flying back here and it was like it was $380. And I was like, what the heck? I was like, all right, travel credit. And I had to like it was the only time I couldn't switch my days. So I had to use it. So I went over to use the travel credit, knocked that 380 down to 180. And there you go. Okay. Don't worry about status or levels. Like my buddy was telling me the other day that he's some, Aeroplan Platinum or whatever. And I was like, well, what does that get you? And he's like, oh, there's some secret lounge that has better food. I'm like, who cares? I'm not going to chase down status just to say I'm some platinum. So my shitty airport food is now mediocre. Like, who cares? Right. Don't get cashback cards. I personally think they're the worst. Oftentimes you get taxed on it. It's a trap. It's their way of getting you to keep spending the cards, hoping you'll be irresponsible so that you have to start paying the crazy high interest on the cards. And like I said, oftentimes in many countries, it's a taxable asset. All right, let's take a break here. Points are greater than money. Okay, let's say you have 120,000 Amex points just for signing up, right? You just got the platinum, right? You could redeem those points and get $1,200. Those points are valued at a penny. Okay, each point is a penny. Penny times 120 grand is $1,200. Great, you can get $1,200. You might have to pay tax on that $1,200, or you could transfer the points, the 120,000 points, to an airline partner. And Amex, Chase has slightly different ones, but I just have Amex up here. Amex partners with all these amazing airlines: British Airways, Delta, Emirates. Oh my God, we're going to talk about that Emirates flight I took last year. Is unbelievable. $14,000 flight that I got for 140,000 points. So a $1,400 cash value got me a $14,000 flight. And I think I paid, like I said, like $600 in taxes, but we'll talk about that in a second. Etihad, which is a really sick airline. Flying Blue, which is like Air France and KLM. Iberia. I don't know why it's not on here, but Amex also is a transfer partner with Air Canada. And we have some other ones here, Singapore Airlines and Virgin Atlantic, and Qantas. I don't know. I'm not Australian. I don't know how to pronounce that. Qantas, who knows? So here's an example. Okay, this is actually a real example of exactly what I did last year. Okay, exactly. This literally happened. Okay. So what you do is you sign up for all the free programs, okay? You go sign up for British Airways, Delta, Emirates, all these places. You just go get a free account. It takes no time. It takes a minute to put in your name, last name, email, password, boom, you're now a Delta member. And then, for example, in my Emirates account, I log in and I select this rewards down here. You can see over here under flight, I select the box. Okay, I want you to show me flights in points, in rewards, in miles, whatever they call it, okay? And I want to know, what's the cost to go from Dubai to Toronto on June 17th? And I want to fly first class. Okay. Now, they didn't have any first class. They had business class. On Emirates, business and first are different. Business class is still really, really nice. But first class, as you're going to see in a second, is like, for somebody who came from nothing and poverty in a bad neighborhood in Toronto, it's like, how the hell did I ever get to do this? It was unbelievable what it was. But business class, you can see, I was right, $633. Business class was 115,000 miles. Okay. Now look at this though. This is a business class flight, by the way. Business, not first. Look at the actual cost of the same flight in dollars. $12,000, $11,987. 115,000 miles is the equivalent of $1,150 plus 633. Let's call it. Let's call it what it is, around $1,800 cash value. It's a $12,000 flight. That's absolutely insane. There's the same flight, Friday, June 17th, leaves Dubai at 3:30 in the morning. By the way, it's crazy. You get 3:30 in the morning, you're just dead. I'll talk about that experience in a second. And it's a 14-hour flight. And what happened was, I was talking to my buddy Tim, who taught me about this stuff. I said, Tim, I cannot get a first class with points. They're only giving me business class, which is still amazing. But how did you get first? He's like, dude, 3 or 4 days before, just keep checking. Check every day if you can upgrade it for points. And sure enough, 2 days prior to my flight, I had a 30,000 point upgrade option. So I was able to upgrade from business class to first class for an extra 30,000 points. And the first class flight was over $14,000. And I paid the equivalent of like $2,000 cash value for that flight in points, okay? And the lesson learned here is the Amex Platinum gives you 120,000 points for free. That is a free business class flight from Toronto, New York, Miami, anywhere like that to Dubai. Unbelievable, right at the right time of year with the right amount of points. It might be more expensive. Obviously, June is a little bit of a down area in Dubai because it's freaking hot. But nonetheless, it was pretty cool. So you could take the $1,200 in cash. You could pay tax on it, or you could use the 115,000 points they gave you just for signing up, okay, and take a $12,000 flight for free, a free fare, and just pay the taxes. You do the math. 150,000 points, cash equivalent of 1,150. Essentially, you're getting a $12,000 flight for the cash equivalent of just over $1,000. It's just a no-brainer if you ask me. And by the way, have you ever seen Emirates first class? I was looking if I took pictures. What ended up happening, this was an unfortunate experience. We went from Egypt to Dubai, and I know specifically where this happened. It's crazy because Egypt, if you've ever been, not insulting it, it's definitely a poorer country. And even by the pyramids, the hotels, they're just not nice. And so you're kind of just trying to like eat, and be like cautious about what you're putting in your body. You don't want to get food poisoning, whatever. And I remember the last day we were in Luxor of Egypt, and we were at this really nice resort, and I was like, oh, this is so nice. It's been a hot, 110 degrees every day, dry desert, middle of freaking June, Egypt. I was roasting. I was by the pool. I took a dip. I was like, oh my God, this is so nice to end my trip like this. And they brought me some shawarma, and I had this little cucumber tomato salad, and I ate it. And the next day we were flying from Egypt to Dubai. I got so sick, and it had to be from that raw salad, probably the water and stuff. And I was really, really sick from Egypt to Dubai on the plane, but it was only a 2.5 hour plane ride, so it wasn't horrible. And then I kind of felt better the next 2 days, and then I felt sick again. And I was sick the entire 14-hour flight from Dubai to Toronto. And it was unfortunate, first world problems. It's really cool because you pull up to the airport, and the entry to the airport has a specific terminal, let's call it, for first class. You don't go to the normal terminal with all the normal people. They drop you off at this first class terminal, a special terminal, and you go through this stuff. And then you go to the first class Emirates lounge, which has like a cigar lounge, a wine bar, sushi, all this nice stuff. I was dead. It was 3 a.m. I couldn't eat, my stomach. And then from the terminal, you walk directly on this A380, the largest plane in the world, into your own pod that looks just like this. You have a menu in front of you. I'm not trying to brag. I'm excited because like I came from nothing, and this was like, holy, and I paid nothing for it, $600, whatever, right, in tax. But you get a menu. Like, it's not like, oh, sir, do you want the chicken or the fish for lunch? It's like, what do you want to eat? There's a book. Do you want an omelet? Do you want steak? Do you want caviar? Do you want Dom Perignon? Do you want this $2,000 bottle of Hennessy? They give you binoculars. You can see the plane's view from the captain. Like, you could switch to a camera like you're flying the freaking plane. You got this 32-inch screen in front of you. Like, it's just, I had a shower on the plane, which food poisoning, it was nice to have private bathrooms. It was just like an unbelievable experience. I got to do it again on some form. I know I've heard Singapore Air is actually nicer. The flight from LA to Singapore is like, supposedly you get like an actual bed. It's like a 2-person suite kind of thing. And do it when I'm not like freaking sick. But it was an unbelievable experience. This is actually a picture of the 777 too. The A380 is different. I didn't really have any pictures because I took one video and I couldn't really upload it on the slide, but I was just like sick and dead. So, but how epic is that? Okay. Literally paid nothing for that flight outside of the $600 in taxes. All right. Some of my upcoming trips now, this year, I just booked my tickets to Argentina for free. They were, I'm taking my girlfriend, they were 500,000 in points return to Toronto. So that's equivalent of $5,000, but had I paid cash, it would have cost me almost 20 grand. It was like 4,500 each way. So, $5,000 in points for $20,000 in flights. I'm just trying to figure out Portugal. It's like I'm going in July, which is hot. So you'll get charged more points when you fly during high season. And so it's like I'm trying to work some dates out, but it looks like I should be able to get the flight for again around 500,000 points. And again, that would be like a $14,000 flight for me and my girlfriend. That would be the equivalent of $5,000 in cash value. We're going to Japan in September. That is like $10,000 each way, direct Toronto to Japan. So that's like $40,000. That one's probably going to actually cost me about 1 million points, but it'll be pretty cool. Another trip planned to Turks and Spain as well. All these trips are going to be free, excluding the tax. Nothing you can do about tax. The Argentina one, for example, was like whatever it was, 500,000-600,000 points. I can't remember, and it was like plus $66 in tax. I was like, all right, well, here's your $66 each for me and Jacqueline there. So I was like, well, whatever. So final tips: put all your expense on your credit cards. Obviously, be responsible about it. Don't go to Vegas and like put $20,000 in blackjack losses on your credit card just to get points. I'm not advocating for that, but be responsible and put things that you spend on each month and pay off each month on your credit card so you can leverage the points. Use different categories for each card as well. Something I didn't really touch on, but you might actually have a card that's not an Amex Platinum, Gold, or Chase. That's like 5X restaurants. And if that card connects to an airline partner and it gives you the best points for your meals, then try to use that card for your meals. Maybe you just have a 4th card that is only for your meals because it gives you crazy points, and you're able to transfer the points off that card to Air Canada, to Emirates, to wherever, okay? Sometimes it's better to take a connecting flight, okay? I did this on the way home because from Rome to Toronto was like 300,000 points. But if I went from Rome to Amsterdam, Amsterdam to Toronto, it was like 80,000 points. So for me, it was a no-brainer. I had a 90-minute layover in Amsterdam. Who cares? It cost me like, it took me like an extra 2 hours to get home, but I was able to do the whole thing in first class and not waste my points, okay? I don't advocate like 10-hour layovers or multi-stops or things like that. But if it's a minor inconvenience and it saves you hundreds of thousands of points, don't be afraid to take a connecting flight. And make sure you check the aircraft. Not all first class is alike. This is one of the reasons why I don't do Toronto to Miami, because Toronto to Miami first class, it depends on the plane. If you're taking a really nice, like a Boeing 777 or whatever, you get the lie down pods, it'll be about $1,800. But $1,800 money, it'll still be like 120,000 points. So you're just not getting the value there. And it's a 2.5-hour flight. I'd rather be squished in the back by the bathroom beside like two people that were massive, squishing me in the middle seat for 2 hours than waste my points on that flight. That's just how I roll. But the other option sometimes is like, oh, this first class is only $600. Awesome. But it's this crappy little Embraer plane where like I walk on the plane and I'm standing up and my head's like already at the roof, and I stand up on my seat and I smash my head off. That's not a real first class. So make sure you're looking at what your plane type is when you're booking. Don't waste your points also. Like I said, don't go from Chicago to New York or, Phoenix to LA, it's 8,000 points or $70. Just pay the $70. Don't waste your points on these stupid flights. Save them for these big long haul flights. Usually anything longer than 5 hours is where I'll start to consider it. Even Toronto to Vegas, I'm like, do I really need to sit first class? I could pay $400 in the exit row, get my leg room, or I could spend 120,000 points on a 4-hour flight, eat the same Air Canada omelet I've had many times, and they're more than average first class. Do I really want to do that? Probably not. I want it for like red eyes. I want it for the lie down seats. I want the experience. It's a long flight. It's uncomfortable. It's overnight. If I'm leaving at 11 o'clock and I'm getting to Portugal at 10 the next morning and it's an 8-hour flight, I might want to sleep 5 hours. I can't do that sitting up crammed in, and that might sound spoiled. But if I could spend 80,000 points instead of $6,000 on the first class flight, and I can lie down, put a nice, headband on, go to sleep, whatever, and get 4 or 5 hours in, well, hey, I'm going to arrive at Portugal ready to go. Well, buddy in the back there in economy who never slept is going to be miserable for 2 days while he's catching up on jet lag. Okay. Sign up for as many cards as you can to get bonuses and travel. Travel, man. I literally have been to America, Mexico, Cuba, Jamaica, and Dominican. I've been to 5 countries, never outside of like the North American Caribbean until last year. And what an eye-opening experience. Europe was like, it just blew my mind how different their culture was over there. Seeing Egypt really just changed my perspective on, people that think they have poverty over in America or Canada. We don't even know what poverty is. Go take a walk in a Nubian village in Africa, okay? And I know other villages in Africa are even like further poor, but Egypt was very eye-opening. Argentina was really cool to see the South American culture, how cheap things are down there. And just it really, you come back and you just have a different perspective on different cultures, different languages, different food experiences. Highly recommended. And I did it all 100% for free on my flights. Obviously, I had to pay for my accommodations and things like that. But, flights were free and it was a really cool way to see the world. And the world is your oyster. This literally is all the Amex cards I had last year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And am I missing anything? No. Oh, there is one. I had a 9th one that wasn't in this picture. But I had 9 Amexes at one time. And I did it to get all the bonus points. It's literally funded Europe. And you got to be careful because, you get bonus points. Like, well, you got to spend, $2,000 a month for 3 months to get the 100,000 bonus on this card. And then like you want to make sure you cancel them before they renew. So it was a bit of a like move this around, that around, and everything. But I was able to like just get millions of points using these cards and fund my entire trip around North America, South America, Europe, Asia, and Africa. I say Asia. Dubai is technically in Asia. My girlfriend's like, you didn't go to Asia. I was like, well, you look it up. The United Arab Emirates is on the Asian continental shelf. So yes, I did go to Asia. And I count it. It counts. So I'm going to Japan this year anyway, so that counts. Got Australia and Antarctica to go, and I've seen them all. So anyways, I'll take some time for some questions here. And then perhaps we shall take a little 5 minutes bathroom break. And I will get a little bit of water here because as much as I like my Diet Cokes and stuff, they aren't actually thirst quenching. So that's that. Oh, all right. Are the points required less when booking through the airline than on the credit card? Yeah, so you don't actually use the points to book on the credit card. I guess I didn't really cover that. I should tweak that in the presentation. What happens is, let's say you have 100,000 Amex points and you go to Air Canada and you're like, oh man, this flight to Barcelona is 80,000 points or 80,000 Aeroplan points. What you do then is you transfer the points from Amex over to Aeroplan, Air Canada's points plan. You transfer the 80,000 over, and then you book the flight through Air Canada's points with the 80,000. Usually, Amex's points are transferable 1-to-1. Same with Chase. So you have 100,000 Amex points, it's worth 100,000 Aeroplan points. You have 100,000 Amex points, it's worth 100,000 Emirates miles or whatever, right? And you can just transfer them easily, like usually within minutes. And somebody says, I got to San Diego, I got a return flight to San Diego for $235, not going to waste points there. Exactly. I fly back and forth, Toronto to Miami. It's like 150 to $200 depending on time of day, whatever. Or sometimes it's a little bit more, but generally speaking, I don't waste points on that either. Can multiple cards be used in ad accounts? Yeah, sure. So what I do is I spend the 150 grand on the business gold. When that's done, boom, I move in the Chase Business Inc. When that one's spent 150 grand, I move that one out and I put in my Amex Platinum, and my Amex Platinum gets charged every $5,000. So I get 1.5x points. So I'm always maximizing my points. You definitely can. Sean, did you need to build a corporate credit? So, sorry, let me finish the question. I do that often. People are like, I don't know what you're reading the question, but I don't know what you're answering because you didn't finish the question. It's on me. I do that to my girlfriend too. I'm a very all over the place kind of personality. Did you need to build corporate credit, including a DUNS number to apply for the business credit, or was your personal credit profile score enough to apply? So your personal credit is enough. You don't need to have a corporate strategy for that. By the way, if you want to get an American credit card, here's a little hack. This is how I did it because I'm still not an American taxpayer at this point in time, right? But I have 3 American credit cards. I have the 2 you saw in here, and I have another one, which isn't for points. I won't even get into it. I just have a third one. That's irrelevant. But if you have a U.S. Corp or if you have let's say a Canadian Amex, and I'm pretty sure this works in Australia, UK, wherever you have an Amex, there's a global transfer program. Google it. Okay, Google the global transfer program. Now you'll need to have an American Corp, an American bank account, an American, articles of corporation, all the stuff that prove that you're an American operating American business. And what you do is you go call the Amex Global Transfer Program. You say, hey, I have this Amex Gold card here in Canada. I want to transfer it over to America. And what they do is because in Canada, there are no US dollar Amexes, period. And Canada Amex, their point system, of course, everything in America is always better than Canada. Sorry, Canadians, it's just true. Amazon's better down here. Walmart's better down here. We have Target. We have Shake Shack. I say we, I'm not an American, but it's just, Canada's a great country and they're different for a lot of reasons. But I'm talking about just things in Canada that exist in America. America is always better for some reason. Why do the credit card point systems suck in Canada, but they're great in America? I don't know. It just is what it is. We kind of get shafted a little bit up north. But in America, so in Canada, you call them up and you're like, I want to transfer my Canadian card through the global transfer program and get a US business gold. You have to go through this process, but they use your Canadian credit in that situation, your personal Canadian credit score. You pass it out and they go, okay, boom, you passed. And then they mail you up a credit card. So I had this business gold, business platinum for years. And I'm not even an American. I just transferred over the global transfer program. I actually got this card called the Plum card. I used that for years. And then they used my history in Amex to qualify me for the other cards. And I was able to get them. So I'm not saying you can, but that's a little bit of a hack if you're not an American. So again, the recap on that is get yourself an American business, and then call up the global transfer program with your current country's Amex. You have to have an Amex in your current country, of course, with some history on it. And then you have to work with the global transfer program to get your card transferred from UK, Australia, Canada, wherever, into America, where you get all those awesome points. Dude, you went to Egypt. That's crazy. How are the pyramids? I did go to Egypt. Let me just say something about the pyramids. They are awesome on TV. They are amazing in person. Egypt was one of those countries, everything was so cheap. We paid nothing. And we got a guide and he took us out on camels. I was riding a camel around Egypt and taking pictures. And It was unbelievable. And we went in the middle of the summer, which, by the way, is just so hot. But what was cool about that was it was not very touristy. So it was really inexpensive to hire tour guides. We had some temples we went to in like Edfu and Aswan, where we were the only people there. Literally, we're sitting in a temple that you had to boat out to an island on in the middle of Aswan, I should say. And it's just me and Jacqueline and our tour guide. Like, it was unbelievable. Really cool experience from on a lot of levels. I love ancient history. You know, I actually started out as a physics and history major in university, and I pivoted to poli-sci, but it's just something that I'm really passionate about. And so it was really cool to see stuff that I studied in school and stuff that I fell in love with, like, up close. Really awesome experience. Really, really awesome experience. Yeah, the points illustrated are US programs. Yes, you can do the same thing I used in Canada. The best card to get is the Amex Aeroplan card, because they give you a lot of bonus points and it links directly with Air Canada. And Air Canada is a really good airline internationally. They fly to a lot of, like, Tokyo, Buenos Aires. Like, I take Air Canada all the time. Tokyo, Buenos Aires, France, Rome, Portugal, Spain. Like, they fly everywhere. Even, no, I took Egypt Air to Egypt. Yes, the slaves made the pyramids, or did the aliens? You never know. I don't know, man. Slaves, 100 years, perfect symmetry, rocks, hot desert. Sounds like aliens to me. I don't know. You ever watch that show, Ancient Aliens? I watch it for fun. Some of their theories are, like, obviously way freaking out there, but I like the ancient history that they cover, and it's a fun show to watch. But I don't know, like, I can be convinced that aliens built that stuff. I'm being honest with you, like, not even being facetious. Or they had way better technology than we let on, because I don't think slaves with some wooden rollers were pulling those blocks. I saw those blocks with my own eyes. Those things are massive, many tons. There's no way. The quarry was like miles away, and it's perfect symmetry. Like, these pyramids are perfect to like 0.1 degree or something. It seems impossible that with a lack of modern technology, that they could build something like that with just like somebody whipping a starving slave in the middle of the heat to, I don't know. I'm not saying aliens, but the slave theory, yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't seem plausible to me, right? Just thought about that. But now people are like, oh, I love Ancient Aliens. I watched that too. It's funny. Yes, I did read Zecharia Sitchin's book on the Anunnaki. That is a really interesting book. And, a lot of the ancient civilizations, we have a whole topic about it, but they have all these pictures of like these like taller beings, or beings with like these weird looking heads, and like pictures of like what looks like a spaceship shining down. And you're like, well, these are hieroglyphs and caves on a wall from 6,000 years ago. I don't know, man. Like, they probably weren't making stuff up, but they're probably just depicting what they saw. I don't know, just throwing it out there. The alien theory isn't too far-fetched. Just throw that out there. Now we're going off on a tangent. Okay. I'm going to just put this mic down. You're going to just see this blank wall. I'm going to walk out, just use the washroom quickly, grab some water, and I'll be right back, and we can maybe save some alien Q&A for the end of the hot seats or something. All right, guys, I'll be right back.